Welcome everyone. It is wonderful to see so many people here today and online. I want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to their ancestors, elders and knowledge holders and recognise their deep ongoing connection to country. The welcome to country feels like a very special thing. I'm a Kiwi, I haven't grown up with it. It always reminds me of a similar event on a New Zealand marae called a Pōwhiri, a welcome to the marae, of another very special piece of traditional owner custom. So yes, I'm a Kiwi, I'm from New Zealand, the ancestral home of Crowded House, Farlap and Pavlova. I started in this industry in 1999 with a company called Meridian Energy in New Zealand. Ended up leading a team developing new generation projects there. So I learnt the challenges of getting projects through consenting, development, construction and into operation. I will say though that this was at a time when our 100 megawatt, it only took us doing 100 megawatt projects for them to be the biggest in New Zealand and Australia. So it is a bit different today. That photo on the left is of me with my son back in 1999 at a place called Makra, just outside Wellington. And you'll all know that Wellington has the name Windy Wellington. That we later developed a wind farm there called West Wind, which was at the time, one of the highest production wind farms in the world. In fact, we were more concerned about losing production because wind was more than 25 metres a second than we were about losing wind because there wasn't enough. 2004, I came to Energex in Brisbane to help lead development of new generation to back the retail business they had at that time. I turned up, and it was actually in the aftermath of the Somerville inquiry, where I saw for the first time the pain and outcome when you do not find the right balance between reducing expenditure and maintaining a safe and reliable network. This was my first lesson on the challenges once you lose the trust and credibility of customers, of community, of shareholders and of governments. And just as importantly, the impact it had on the people of Energex, on their mental well-being and on no longer being proud to wear an Energex uniform. And just 6 years later, we had the other extreme of year-on-year double-digit price increases, partly as the result of network investment being underutilised. These are experiences I never forget, and they shape the way I lead and think about business today. Our Powerlink is the CFO and now is the interim CEO. We are firmly focused on continuing to find the right balance between maintaining a safe and reliable network and the cost impact on customers. And after 26 years in this industry, I am still in awe of the magic of electricity. Our focus was reaffirmed by the Queensland Government's Energy Roadmap. Its focus on affordable, reliable, sustainable power. The roadmap also reaffirmed that we're working on the right things and heading in the right direction for Queensland. And in his speech, the Treasurer thanked the work of the Powerlink team for the modelling and planning inputs and insights to that plan. The roadmap showed that where we need to go hasn't changed, just the pathway there is different. And as power system experts and planners, we continually are looking at what we do and how we do it to try and make sure we have the best network for the energy of the future. One of the key things out of the roadmap was that CopperString will now shift to a QIC-led entity for the delivery and ownership of that project. The other key things were the extending or resetting of the coal closure timeframes and a decision matrix for those closures based around system need, asset integrity and economics. It also highlighted the importance of gas generation to maintain the reliability of the network. And it also highlighted the big potential we have for further investment in renewables and storage, be those batteries or pumped hydro. So what does all that mean for Powerlink? We will continue to play a role in making sure we have a system that delivers cost-effective, reliable and safe electricity to the people of Queensland. That hasn't changed. We'll still connect new generation, we'll still connect new storage, that enables the private sector investment that sits behind those things, and we'll always do that with a focus on delivering the lowest bulk supply price, that combination of generation and transmission and drive value for Queenslanders. So what's changing in our operating environment? What are those things that are challenging us in getting this work done? And we have 4 themes around customer, community, cost and complexity. And you'll hear those themes throughout the presentations over the rest of today. When we look at cost, transmission accounts for about 7% of the household bill, but we're facing unprecedented cost pressures on the cost of transmission projects. Those AEMO numbers behind us say that over the last 2 years, the cost of a transmission project is up 35 to 55% in real terms. Once you factor in inflation and the impact of higher interest rates, effectively that means it's a double in cost for customers. That unprecedented demand on a global scale for transmission equipment and skilled people is something we've never seen. And we are not a major player in those world markets. And so as an example of that demand for product, a couple of weeks ago, GE Vernova had their quarterly results, and this is reflected in every other major equipment supplier. Over the last 2 years, they have doubled their sales, their forward order book is twice as long, their margins have tripled, and their share price has quadrupled. That is the market that we are trying to buy product in. So us having a good relationship with our suppliers is critical to our success, and I'm pleased to see some of our major suppliers here in the room today. And fresh new news, we've got the first insights from our community sentiment survey. This is the largest community sentiment survey of its type undertaken in Queensland, undertaken by Voconics for us. This year's was the biggest yet, with almost 2,000 community respondents and covering 17 local government areas. As you can see, trust and acceptance both improved from last year, and the key driver of trust remains that we need to clearly show the benefits of what we're doing outweighs the impact. And while this is a good outcome, we do need to acknowledge and recognise that the experience is different across the different communities across Queensland. And we need to keep doing the work we're doing to engage with communities who are hosting our infrastructure for generations. Our operating environment is also becoming more complex by the day, be it more generators, more weather-dependent demand and supply. There's lots of things that you can point to about the complexity, and Stuart's going to touch on way more of those later on. But just look at October. In the sunny, mild days of early October, we had minimum system load records. And just 4 weeks later, we had a new record peak demand for October. At just over 10,100 megawatts, it was more than 20% higher than we'd ever seen in October. Thankfully, the system all held together pretty well, so that was all good. But this increased level of complexity means we need to continue to rethink how we do stuff, how we operate the network, and what we plan to build. So what does that mean for our network plan? 4 years ago, we would have stood here and talked about the 500 kV augmentation that we needed to do, connecting the potential Barumba pumped hydro in the south, going up the coast to Gladstone, and then on to North Queensland. And then we had the impact of the cost factors I talked about, and we had to rethink what we were doing. First thing we looked at was how to reduce the connection voltage for the Barumba pumped hydro from 500 kV to 275, reducing the cost, and shifting the augmentation between southern Queensland and central Queensland inland, where it will require less transmission build, therefore less cost, and be closer to the great energy resources west of the Dividing Range. At today's costs, it's no longer economic to do a major augmentation between central and southern Queensland. And we're focused on finding ways to unlock transmission capacity in our network in central and southern Queensland, and defer the need for a major augmentation between southern and central Queensland. We still need to build new transmission, but we're focused on trying to make sure we unlock as much capacity in our existing network as possible. One place we do need to still put some major investment is in central Queensland. The energy roadmap highlighted the importance of this work, and we've been planning for the potential closure of the Gladstone Power Station since 2022. So when the potential closure notice came out last month, we're already 3 years into the development and planning for how to reinforce the network to retain reliable supply into Gladstone. Our team has stood on this stage for the last couple of years and talked about the work we need to do in central Queensland. And with the government support for the Priority Transmission Investment Framework, we are well placed to deliver on this. So the two critical elements of this reinforcement or work in Gladstone is reinforcing the capacity between Calvale and Calliope River to enable reliable supply to be maintained for the over 1,100 megawatts of load in Gladstone, and to build 2 synchronous condensers to continue to provide the system strength that goes away when Gladstone Power Station closes. That's then followed by a new substation in Gladstone West and reinforcing the Boulder Combe to Larkin Creek capacity and adding 2 additional synchronous condensers. There is also a need for more generation in this area to replace the megawatt hours that are currently provided by the Gladstone Power Station. Getting a bit dry. All right. So this challenging operating environment is also shaping how we think about our 5-year revenue proposal. We released our draft revenue proposal in September, and we're ongoingly rethinking and looking and consulting on that document as we head towards our next milestone of the lodgement of the proposal in January. With the rising costs I talked about earlier, plus higher interest rates from this period to the next period, there is a huge impact on the maximum allowable revenue that we will be seeking. So this chart is not a great story for customers. And I'm very conscious that the projects we're doing through the PTI framework sit outside this. But we need to make sure we have the right money and work to maintain a safe and reliable network. Half of the increase that we're seeing comes from us spending more money to maintain that safe and reliable network. The other half comes from the orange line there, how interest rates are changing and their impact on the rate of return between periods. But we want to ensure we have the appropriate work and expenditure to maintain that safe and reliable network, but we will do everything we can to minimise the impact on customers. Engagement with our customers is fundamental to the development of our proposal. We've once again co-designed our engagement process with customers and with stakeholders to make sure that it was giving what they needed to help us. I want to particularly acknowledge and thank the work of the customer panel and the revenue proposal reference group for all their time and effort in helping us work through this. And I've found it invaluable in testing our thinking with both of those groups. The engagement will continue up to and post the lodgement of our proposal, and we're focused on finding the right balance between operating a safe and reliable network and the cost to our customers. I've seen firsthand what happens when you don't get that balance right, and I do not want to repeat it. For me, for our staff, or for the people of Queensland. So I'll finish on a little bit of a high note. Our connection pipeline remains strong. We've connected over 10 gigawatts of generation and storage since 2017, and Jackie will give you more detail on that later on. But we do need to understand why low volumes of projects are getting to financial close throughout the national electricity market at the moment. But with over 40 gigawatts in application, 40 gigawatts in an inquiry stage, we see plenty of opportunity for a power system that delivers safe, reliable, cost-effective power. So rather than tell you all how positive we are about the future and all the good things that have happened since we were all here 12 months ago, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here's some highlights.
Class energy future for Queensland. The Queensland Energy Roadmap highlighted the vital role that our network and our people will play in delivering affordable, reliable and sustainable energy for the state. It highlighted the critical work in delivering vital reinforcement of the electricity transmission network in central Queensland, ensuring the reliability of supply to industry, businesses and households for generations to come. This year, we progressed more than 100 connection applications, completed 8 major transmission developments, and connected 7 new generators. This equates to more than 2,600 megawatts of new generation and energy storage projects added to the grid. Our future energy mix is changing, bringing new challenges with it. we have managed the extremes on our network, setting both a new record maximum and minimum demand during 2025. Powerlink has laid a strong foundation for the economic development of North and Northwest Queensland. In 2 years, Powerlink has taken Copperstring from a plan to being construction ready. Copperstring's home at Hewenden has been built, occupied, and ready for the next phase of delivery by the Queensland Investment Corporation. Communities play a key role in the transformation of Queensland's energy system. With the growing need for new transmission infrastructure, understanding community needs and ensuring transparent engagement has never been more important. Powerlink is committed to engaging early with landholders, traditional owner groups, and wider communities to better understand their needs and priorities. 2025 represents a milestone year as we celebrate 30 years of Powerlink serving Queenslanders. As we look back on our 30-year history, our experience and expertise has guided us to where we are today. As we embark on a new era, our commitment to Queenslanders remains the same. To safely operate and maintain Queensland's electricity network, to connect new power generation sources, and lead the way through innovation, making sure you have access to reliable power from Cairns to Coolangatta. With Queenslanders, for Queenslanders.
Right, so to finish, after 26 years in this industry and 7 years at Powerlink, taking over as the Interim Chief Executive is a very proud moment for me, but also a huge responsibility. I'm excited to be part of the next chapter of serving Queenslanders and being part of the magic of electricity. Thank you.